Hi everyone, Catherine and Dave here from Fantasy Fitnessing, and we are here to preview the Granite Games. Gonna go through some stats about the field, kind of who's there, what's happening, and then Dave's gonna hop in with things to watch for and get his sort of games ticket picks and some dark horses. So, starting looking at the field, there are 8 men and 5 women that have been to the games before. Some men that have games experience will not be going directly to the games. And maybe those 5 women are just going to get their tickets straight back. Who knows? And looking at who is a repeat semifinal athlete, there's 17 men and 14 women. So that's great to see that many people coming back again. And then looking at who did the best in the first couple stages of the season. So Granite Games athletes from the Open, the top 5 men were Colton Mertens, Phil Toon, Chandler Smith, Sam Quant, and Anthony Davis. For the women, the first place was Mallory O'Brien, and then Danny Spiegel, Amanda Barnhart, Emily Rolfe, and Sofia Gaffney. So that's who did the best out of the Open. And then out of quarterfinals, we're looking at their worldwide rank. So top would have been Chandler Smith, and then Sam Quant, Phil Toon, Brent Fikowski, and Zachary Booten. On the women's side, Mallory O'Brien, Amanda Barnhart, Alex Kazan, Fee Sagafi, and Chloe Wilson. So a couple kind of different names popping up when we look at the quarterfinal athletes versus the Open. So those are some athletes to definitely keep an eye on going into this semifinal. And then we kind of ranked all the semifinal fields against each other, looking at total field strength, like everybody that's there, how did they do in the worldwide quarterfinal, and then the kind of advancing qualifying spots, like the number of games tickets and last chance qualifiers. So that's 8 for Granite. And then also just looking at the strength of like the top 5 athletes' game spots. And this is all looking at their worldwide rank. So the women's field, the total field was 3rd. And then advancing spots, it drops to 4th. And then for game spots, it drops to 5th. So to me, that means there's lots of different people that could possibly pop to get those games tickets because the field is quite strong. But there's a couple sure things on the game spot side of things, but it means there's a few that are definitely up for grabs. On the men, the total field strength was 5th. Advancing spots is 4th, and then game spots is 6th. So that kind of drops as it narrows down as well. So that's kind of a little bit about who's done well so far this season and how the field sort of stacks up against the rest of the semifinal fields. So now I'm going to pass it to Dave to show us interesting matchups and things that are coming.
All right, thanks, Catherine. So starting on the women's side, one thing I want to watch here is Mal O'Brien versus Amanda Barnhart. So O'Brien has got a ton of publicity this year just based off of how well her season has gone, just absolutely dominating the Open with 2 firsts and a second. So just an amazing performance there. But just kind of looking back to last year, O'Brien and Barnhart were really quite close in terms of a matchup perspective. So when they're both at the games, Mal O'Brien finished 7th, Amanda Barnhart was 9th, just 27 points between them. Over at Rogue, O'Brien was 8th, Barnhart 10th, with just 15 points between them. So really quite close when you're thinking of, maybe 4 total positions over the course of the weekend was all that really was the difference between the two of them. So it'll be interesting to see how O'Brien stacks up against Barnhart coming into this event, or coming out of this event, I should say, just to see if there is going to be a bigger spread between the two of them, to see if that development and moving up to Vermont and training under Matt Fraser has really shown us the dividends that we kind of expect just based off the start of the season, or maybe it's just being comfortable in the gym is able to be lights out when weights are a bit lighter or workouts are a bit more controlled than on the floor. So be interesting to see again how those two stack up over the course of the weekend. Next up, Emily Rolfe. So games athlete last year. It'll be interesting to see how she does at Granite last year. When I saw the semifinal placements, seeing her go to Granite it kind of made me worry about how she is going to fare up. Emily Rolfe is, a top athlete, and she really does excel at some of those events that just require athleticism at the game. So she was top 5 at the kind of swim and row. She won the toes to bar and mile run, or mile and a half run, where he ended up running 3 miles with a whole bunch of toes to bar between that. Over at Wadapalooza, she was top 5 in the row, swim, run event. So those are the types of events where just kind of pure athleticism is going to get you through it, which we didn't see last year at Granite. So interesting to see how she does relative to the rest of the field, when there may not be any events that really play into her wheelhouse. As one of the few top athletes that has a day job, interested to see how she can do, only being able to work out part-time, and while everybody's lights out at 10 o'clock, she's working the night shift at the hospital. So, one for the average CrossFitter who's working a job and trying to do the best. So see how Emily Rolfe plays out this weekend. Another up-and-comer, although she had been to the games, Sofia Gaffney. She just missed out last year at the games. I think she was 7th or 8th at Mid-Atlantic CrossFit Championship last year. So again, it'll be interesting to see how she does. Strength was definitely one of her weaknesses last year, and then just moving to brute strength has put an emphasis on improving that. So be interesting to see how she does. In the off season, she had an 8th place at Wadapalooza, so just a couple points ahead of Rolfe there in a pretty top heavy field. So Sofia Gaffney could also be someone to watch again, just as she develops into her career. In terms of, again, just overall field strength, it'll be some up-and-comers to watch throughout the weekend. So Chloe Wilson, she was 7th at West Coast Classic, and then one of 2 6th-place finishers at the 2018 South Regional in this field. So she's just been that close to the games before. You got Alex Kazan, who finished 12th in quarterfinals this year. And then Sydney Wells, she had a 16th, I think, last year at West Coast Classic, but made big jumps in the Open. So last year she was 528th, and she was top 75 this year. So just, again, having that focused training, maybe she is able to make that leap. And then I guess overall for the field, really outside of last year, a lot of these athletes that we're going to see have never hit the competition floor in an elite field, minus the kind of the athletes that we have talked about. So again, just the sanctional system, and then a lot of things being canceled due to COVID, really gives a lot of these younger athletes the ability to hit the competition floor with an elite field. So that'll be interesting to watch, to see how they stack up against everybody. And again, great learning experience for everybody who is competing at this event.
Yeah, that's a lot of different names and sort of fun faces that are coming up and old faces that we know. It's going to be good. I'm excited, especially that matchup of OBrien and Barnhart. That's gotta love a good matchup.
And like that CF&E crew is like lights out this year. So maybe there's something, they've retooled a bit and are coming in strong. So it'll be interesting to watch, to peg both those athletes of, where they potentially could finish up in Madison.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, on the men's side, speaking of CF&E, Chandler Smith, looking forward to watching him. So he's coming off his best season, or best start to the season so far. Had one of his best opens, and then was 4th worldwide in quarterfinals. So it'll be interesting to see how he again transitions that to an in-person competition. Last year he did finish 2nd at the Granite Games, but there really was nothing flashy about his performance. Like, he was always just kind of there. And maybe that was also just the result of being paired up next to Saxon, who won the competition without winning an event. So again, hopefully Chandler Smith, he's always the guy I want to see do well. I think he just has a ton of potential. So hopefully this is the year that he's able to, reach that potential. So I'm excited to watch him. On the CF&E front as well, Sam Quant, who left CF&E earlier this year, he came back at 13th in Worldwide for quarterfinals. So really good to see him come back. He was not on top of his game at all last year, had some illness issues that hopefully he has sorted out. So it's good to see him back kind of in that elite status after finishing 2nd at the games just 2 years ago. So again, to see him on the same competition floor with a lot of these other guys. Looking to see him bounce back. One of the storylines of the year, Phil Toon so far finished 17th Worldwide Quarterfinals, and then just really got on everybody's radar after finishing 6th at Wodapalooza. I think she was in the leader's jersey for a period of time there. So interesting to see how he stacks up versus this field, since it is probably maybe not as deep as Wodapalooza was, but certainly, a lot more athletes will be on top of their game versus an off-season event. So it'll be good to see how Toon stacks up versus the rest of the field that is here on the men's side. And then I guess looking at the men's side, which is really going to be an interesting competition to watch. So on top of the three guys we got mentioned, we got podium finisher at the games, Brent Fikowski, who, knows how to ramp up for games better than anybody there is. We got Travis Mayer, who thinks has battled an injury so far this year with his back, so he hasn't been finished where he has expected him. You got Games athlete Tim Paulson, Colton Mertens, who finished 5th at Granite last year, Tyler Eggman, who was 6th place at MAC last year and also finished 6th at 2018 South Regional. So, been on the wrong side of the bubble twice in his career. Nick Matthews, who missed making to the games by about 5 points last year behind Colton Mertens at Granite Games, and is now training with Proven. You got Matt Douglas, who is the only man with 2 world records in quarterfinals in back-to-back years. And then you have Zachary Bunton, who finished 37th in worldwide quarterfinals, or he was, 45th last year in quarterfinals, but didn't really compete in semifinals. He's kind of a bit of a wild card because back in 2019, he finished 19th in the Open, which gave him a games ticket where he finished 88th. So really kind of a wild card of, how he's going to finish up on the leaderboard. And then you got Anthony Davis, who, can lift the house and is going to win an event. So super stacked field on the men's side, which really is going to cause some commotion within some of these people just trying to make it into the games. Like you think about a Tim Paulson, who is probably going to be kind of right on that 4th, 5th, or below the line there, where you normally be like, oh, Tim Paulson's going to win the tall guy events. Well, Fikowski and Douglas are there, so there's maybe a couple points that he was counting on that isn't going to happen. Or Travis Mayer, really strong with the lift events. Well, with Anthony Davis there, he's not going to win the lift event that he might have elsewhere. So there's going to be a lot of, gameplay within the competition himself. You got Colton Mertens, who, hits a lot of home runs. He wins a lot of events. But, a lot of his strengths in the Open, Phil Toon was right up there too. So it'll be interesting to see this final field and how they battle through the weekend, because depending on the programming, it's going to be a lot closer than we think for a lot of these guys. And whatever, there's five athletes last year that made it to the games, plus Quant and Toon, and some other guys right on the edge. So we can definitely have a few games athletes from that last year missing the cut.
Yeah, that is a lot of names that definitely have been to the games, but then also guys, especially like Nick Matthew and Matt Douglas and stuff like that, that a lot of people are like, yeah, let's get them to the games. We want to see them perform. We want to see them punch their ticket. So this is going to be fun. That's a lot. That's like a great final heat of everybody you listed.
Yeah, well, even some of those guys will be in the second heat. But yeah, it'll be
Exactly.
interesting to watch, just because there's so many guys where you're like, well, Tim Paulson will do well in this event. Well, he's kind of matched up with Fikowski from a skill set standpoint, or so yeah. Plus, a couple wild cards like Quant coming back. I don't know. This one is going to be a toss up of who's going to get those last few games tickets.
Yeah, I'm hoping Quant is in good shape. He's a guy that's been to the games a number of times and then hit kind of like the 2020 year that was a bit weird. So I'd like him to sort of, well, A, I want him to make the games, but B, perform at the games to show that that wasn't just like a one hit thing, because it was a weird year with cutting down to 5. Because after so many events, he was just in the top 5. Like, it'd be nice to see him get back and look good, look like himself again.
Yeah, he hit everybody's radar at 2020. Just again, being on every heat in the top five. But he's coming off a 13th place in 2019 and at the games, and 20th in 2017. So he's been there 4 times. So he definitely has the capabilities to get back.
Yeah, for sure. So I really hope he gets back, and then we can see what he does in a full field and a full weekend kind of thing. All right, let's see, who are your picks? Top fives and a dark horse.
Yeah, so starting on the women's side, so I got Mel O'Brien taking it, Amanda Barnhart second, third place athlete Danny Spiegel. Haven't talked to her about her yet. I think she's just she has her strengths she's really good at, and I think she is better than the rest of the field on that other stuff to make it to the games. She unfortunately had to drop out of the CrossFit Games last year before we got to the events that were really in her wheelhouse, like the clean ladder and the 1 rep max snatch. So good to see her back. I got Sofia Gaffney in fourth. I think just with the extra training and emphasis on strength, she'll be able to make it. And then fifth place, I don't know. This one was not sure about at all, but I got Emily Rolfe making it back. Just thinking with Granite last year, like there was none of those long cardio events, but there's also just some kind of grinded out events with the 2-2-2-3 event with the sled pull and the box jump overs. So I think Rolfe will make it there. And then on a dark horse standpoint, Chloe Wilson. She, again, has been around for a while, even though she is just 24, just outside of the games back in 2018 and just missing last year as well. So I think she could be one to sneak in there on the women's side.
Nice, I like it. I think she's also somebody that has a job and is training. So I'm pretty sure she's a firefighter. So yeah, she'd be a fun one to watch for sure. I think I had her picked on one of my fantasy lineups last year. It'd be nice to see her get a games ticket.
And then on the men's side, again, looking forward to seeing this field shake out. But I got Chandler Smith taking the overall victory, Fikowski in second, Quant in third, Phil Toon in fourth. And then I got Tim Paulson taking the last games pick. I think it'll be between him and Mertens coming down to it. Paulson edged him at Granite in the games last year, but Mertens was 3 or 4 spots ahead of him at Wodapalooza. So, it's going to be interesting. And then dark horse, I got Nick Matthew rocking the crop top to sneak in there as well. So he could be one to watch out of this field. I think just, you think he's hungry. I think he's training with proven this year that he might not have done last year. So it'll be interesting to see. But again, like this will be one fun field to watch.
Yeah, that's the men's side's a hard one to actually lay out who's going to be on top. I don't know if I fully agree with that ordering, but I honestly I don't know what I would do. I would probably have Toon above Quant. I would probably have Matt DeLugos instead of Tim Paulson, even though that hurts my heart to say out loud. And I would probably maybe put Fikowski on top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I
And
guess
Toon,
on the
yeah.
top, like Fikowski, like he finished third, so he's probably the best athlete of the group. But he could also, new dad and is very calculated, so might just do enough to get by.
True. Yeah. This one's a tough one. I think this is the first time where I'm like, I don't know if I would actually order them that way. All the other ones have been like, oh yeah, no, I can see it. Yeah, I'm into it. But this one's like, oh yeah, I don't know, man. They're just kind of like what you're saying of like different guys, like skill sets matching up and stuff like that. That it's gonna be good. I'm excited. We have to wait for week 3 for this.
Yeah, this will be week 3, and like I think the one kind of wild card that may end up changing my ordering come week 3 is just seeing how Dallin Pepper and James Sprague do in the first 2 weeks. I think Scott from Clydesdale Fitness and Friends has mentioned that the brute strength group is trying to peak at semifinals this year, and so if Pepper and Sprague come like lights out within the first couple weeks, maybe Toon's bumping a couple spots up on the leaderboard as well.
Yeah, that's a really good idea to like sort of see how their training has made the other guys that are in that group peak.
Mm-hmm.
It's all going to be so good. So that is our Granite Games preview. Keep an eye out for our week 4 previews that are coming. Our week 1 salary cap game is live. Our draft games are live. Log on at fantasyfitnessing.com to play all those games. They're free to play. The draft rooms and stuff, get some buddies together, make it a bit more interesting, kind of like all other fantasy sports. And make sure you're following us at Fantasy Fitnessing on Instagram. We're going to post some different like sort of fantasy approaches, our power rankings sort of by week of how kind of like a draft cheat sheet kind of thing, and post different athlete stats and that as we kind of go along. So make sure you're following us. Make sure you got a lineup in. It's super fun to play. It's free to play. It's another way to engage and like kind of care about the athletes in a different way, not just watching the final heat all the time. So, yes, that is it from us for our week 3 previews. And we will see you on the leaderboard.